Hello, everybody. This is Parrish Alford of the Daily Journal. I'm joined now with Tom Murphy of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. We're going to talk a little Ole Miss Arkansas football. Tom, how are you, man?
Doing quite well. It's really nippy up here, 10 degrees overnight, but I think things are going to warm up for game.
Yeah, the forecast I'm seeing is like 89 degrees and 101% rain or something like that. It looks like it's going to be very different than what it's been recently in Fayetteville.
Yeah, I think what I saw today, maybe in the mid 50s in the degrees, and I saw a 90% chance of rain. It wasn't an hour by hour, but I would bring the slickers and the boots and such up here.
Now, I'll tell you though, it's not a natural surface. It's artificial turf. It won't be a mutter. It'll be wet, but it won't be a mutter, right?
That's correct. Yeah, they've had the turf since I think Petrino's maybe his second year. They got that turf in there.
Well, I'm thinking, Tom, that if it rains throughout the game, that favors a team that runs the ball more often and more successfully, and that sounds like Arkansas. What do you think?
Oh, I don't know. If the receivers are making their cuts precisely and Bo Wallace is on the same page with them, a lot of times you can cause DBs to slip. I think it plays a little bit of both ways. Obviously, like we just said, there won't be mud or super slick conditions just trying to run the ball. So guys could have their footing coming up and making tackles. I just see this as being a much like the Ole Miss LSU game, much like LSU Arkansas Mississippi State. They've been in the teens, and Arkansas Alabama as well. They've been in the teens, and I just think if a team can get up to 21 or 24 points, they're going to have a good shot to win this game.
Arkansas was so close for so long to winning an SEC game. I mean, we saw so many close competitive games for this team. What was that frustration level like before they were finally able to exhale against LSU?
Well, there was a lot of frustration, and we didn't necessarily see like the locker rooms or what have you, but we know that guys were getting frustrated. They had gotten so close. And one good example in the Mississippi State game, Arkansas played fairly well in that one, but gave up an uncovered receiver, got past, and a broken assignment, and he turned it into a 69-yard touchdown, and they lose 17-10 in a game they had their chances. I mean, they got stopped on the 1-yard line. They missed a field goal where they could have taken a fourth-quarter lead. Things like that happened. And Trey Flowers, kind of their star defensive end, after the game was down near the locker room, but outside it, and he was crying. I mean, he was just overcome with the fact that they once again had gotten so close. And one thing that Brett Bielema has done with this group is he's just been so understanding, and he's such a player's coach that they just kept plugging away and kept having good performances. And they don't have a lot of room for error. I mean, they're not blessed with a bunch of deep talent across the board. So they've stayed injury-free or pretty close to injury-free most of all year. They kept plugging away against ranked teams, and they finally got the breakthrough. They felt like they would have a good shot to play well against LSU, and they did that.
When you say they're not blessed with talent across the board, maybe not as deep as they would like to be or might be in years to come, tell me the strengths of this team. I mean, when I look at Arkansas, I think of a running game and an offensive line, but what has put this team in position to win more than once?
Yeah, you're going down the right course there. Big, tough offensive line that they promote as the biggest in the country, even with NFL teams included. And that's guys like Dan Skipper, the 6'10 tackle, and Sebastian Tretola, a 6'5 guard who's just a beast. And then they have some depth at running back with the guys who both have, Jonathan Williams has 932 yards, and Alex Collins in the high 800s, like 880. So potentially 2,000-yard backs. Brandon Allen, the quarterback, is getting a lot better. He's just matured. He's throwing on balance a lot better, not making as many poor decisions. I think his touchdown to interceptions right now are 15-5. So he's done a lot better at that. They moved him around in the pocket last week and had some success with that. Where they're thin, linebacking core, they don't have a ton of guys they can throw out there. Safety has been an issue, but they're still playing close in games where they've given up some passing yardage. So I would say safety. The cornerback plays are getting a little bit better, and they've had some special teams issues as well. Punting has been just very mediocre. The kicking game was really costly. If they'd had a kicking game, I think they would have beaten Texas A&M, and they would have had a really good shot to beat Alabama. And there'd be more on the line for them in this game. But there's still a ton with a bowl berth on the line.
Ole Miss has been a very strong defensive team most of the year. LSU and Auburn found ways to run on them, really put up a lot of rushing yards. So I figure that's a matchup that is a concern for the Rebels this week. But they've been able to pass the ball on offense. When they've been able to protect Bo Wallace, he's been accurate more times than not, usually well over 60% with his completion percentage. You talked about that Arkansas secondary a little bit. Take us down there a little bit more. Is that a matchup that could favor Ole Miss in this game?
Well, it could. If Wallace and the receivers are on the same page. Arkansas's pass rush, they had 4 last week on a really cold night against a team that's not used to playing in the cold. So they got Jennings 4 times. Most of them were pretty late when they had to pass. So they haven't been generating a big-time pass rush. A lot of teams have gotten the ball out quickly on them. If Wallace stays in the pocket and some of the first couple of reads get covered or aren't open, then they might have a chance to get pressure. But otherwise, when quarterbacks have had a little bit of time, typically they found some seams. Teams like A&M, Auburn have passed on them. Alabama did most of its damage through the air as well. So I think that's a matchup that could favor Ole Miss.
The Arkansas front seven, though, they've been pretty good. It looks like they've been physical. When you talk about games in the teens, and I've seen those scores, a lot of that starts with stopping the run.
Oh yeah, they've been at home been really strong against the run. I mean, Alabama came in here and could not establish it. They had 36 rushing yards. 66 rushing yards. And last week, LSU only 36. Some of that was offset by the 36 yards in sacks, and they had a 27-yard loss on a snap over the quarterback's head. So around 100 if you take the sacks and the bad snap away. But still, they have really stuffed just the traditional lead plays and things like that, off-tackle plays. They stuffed them against Bama and LSU. So I do believe if they keep that up, if they scheme well for Ole Miss, that the damage will have to be done by the Rebels through the air.